The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was an awe-inspiring construct, a colossal dome of shimmering alloy and translucent crystal, floating in the void of deep space. It had stood as a monument to galactic unity for over 10,000 cycles, its walls echoing the voices of 100 different species. Today, however, those voices rose in outrage and frustration, reverberating through the chamber in a chaotic symphony of anger. At the center of the amphitheater, High Speaker Zorthan loomed over the assembly, his 6 golden eyes scanning the gathered representatives. A being of the Zeltrax dominion, Zorthan's elongated, segmented form exuded authority, his mandibles clicking in agitation as he raised a clawed hand to command silence. The chamber quieted, save for the occasional chitter of the insectoid diplomats or the low, guttural growls of the warlike Gorvath delegates. "The time for patience has ended," Zorthan declared, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustic enhancers. "The humans have ignored our laws, mocked our authority, and refused to acknowledge the Council's power. This insult cannot stand any longer." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. Representatives from dozens of species exchanged glances, nodding in assent. The humans had long been a subject of concern, an anomaly in the galactic order. Unlike other species who had required guidance, uplift, or direct intervention from the Council to join the greater interstellar community, humanity had forged its own path. When they first made contact with the Council 2 centuries ago, their response had been characteristically indifferent. "Ah, cool," the human diplomat had said upon first contact. "So, what exactly do you guys do?" That had been the first insult. The Galactic Council had expected awe, reverence, perhaps even submission. Instead, they had been treated like a mildly interesting trivia fact. In the following decades, humanity had expanded aggressively, colonizing planets, constructing space stations, and developing technology at a pace that alarmed the more conservative members of the Council. While the Council debated policies for decades at a time, humanity acted. They built. They conquered the void without permission, without oversight, without acknowledging the bureaucratic maze the rest of the galaxy was forced to navigate. The final straw had come when the humans outright ignored a direct Council mandate. The Council had decreed that the unclaimed system of Ylathis 4 was to be reserved for future diplomatic negotiations and peaceful development. Humanity had responded by terraforming one of its planets, naming it New Jersey 2, and settling 3 million colonists there within a single cycle. When the Council had demanded their withdrawal, the United Earth Council's official response had been baffling in its sheer disregard. "We already moved in. Maybe you guys should have done it first." It was an affront unlike any other. The Council had spent centuries balancing power, ensuring that no single race disrupted the carefully maintained equilibrium. Humanity, with its unchecked ambition, had thrown that balance into chaos. "Their refusal to acknowledge our authority threatens not just this Council, but the stability of the entire galaxy," continued Zorthan, his voice dripping with contempt. "They are an existential threat, expanding like a virus, consuming resources, ignoring protocol. We gave them every opportunity to comply, to integrate. They refused. They laughed in our faces. This cannot be allowed to continue." A murky, gelatinous being from the Ulgoth conglomerate gurgled in agreement. "Indeed. Their corporations have even begun trading in restricted markets, destabilizing economies. The humans introduced what they call a stock market to 3 developing worlds last cycle, and now half the planets in that sector are experiencing financial collapse. Their businesses sell goods with no regard for interstellar trade laws. The being wobbled in distress. They have sold weapons to both sides of ongoing conflicts and then bet on the outcomes." An uproar followed this statement. The humans had not just disregarded the Council, they had profited from their own recklessness. A representative of the Gorvath Dominion, a massive reptilian warrior species, slammed his clawed fist onto his podium. "They refused to participate in honorable combat. When we issued a formal challenge of war last century, they responded by sending memes." There was a hushed murmur. Memes, the most insidious of human weapons. It was said that certain species had lost entire wars not through superior tactics but through psychological exhaustion, from exposure to humanity's bizarre sense of humor. Zorthan raised his claw again, and now we have reached a breaking point. They have seized yet another system. They have ignored our communications. They act as though we do not exist. This is not mere defiance. It is a declaration of superiority. The gathered representatives nodded, some in anger, some in frustration, but all in agreement. "What do you propose, Speaker?" asked the Vortali ambassador, a sleek avian creature with shimmering blue feathers. Zorthan's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "We invoke Article 7 of the Galactic Accords. Total war." A silence settled over the chamber. It had been centuries since Article 7 had been invoked. It was the ultimate action, the last resort. But now, it seemed necessary. Zorthan continued, "We will assemble the greatest fleet this galaxy has seen in 1,000 cycles. Over 1,000 warships, equipped with the most advanced weaponry. We will strike at their colonies first, then their homeworld. We will shatter their fleets, blockade their planets, and force them to submit." Murmurs turned into cheers. This was what they had wanted. Justice, revenge, validation. "The humans believe they are untouchable," Zorthan proclaimed. "We will remind them that they are but one species among many. The Council reigns supreme." The chamber erupted into thunderous applause, appendages slamming against podiums, vocalizations of agreement echoing from every corner. The war was decided. Official declarations were transmitted across the stars. Every major civilization in the galaxy received word that the Council had formally declared war on humanity. Fleets mobilized. Soldiers prepared. Armadas were assembled. The Galactic Council believed they were about to embark on a historic conquest. Humanity, however, had yet to even acknowledge the message. The official war declaration from the Galactic Council arrived at Earth's Central Communications Hub at precisely 1432 Universal Standard Time. It was a momentous occasion, a formal act of interstellar aggression, the kind that had historically led to the downfall of entire civilizations. And yet, for nearly 2 hours, the message sat in a queue, waiting behind a backlog of corporate emails, spam advertisements, and a particularly heated debate between two AI moderators on whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Eventually, at 1647, an intern at the United Earth Council's Foreign Affairs Office, a 22-year-old political science major named Kevin, noticed the flashing priority alert on his screen. He adjusted his ergonomic chair, sipped his overpriced energy drink, and casually opened the transmission. The message was grandiose, filled with legal jargon, veiled threats, and formal declarations of war. The Council had condemned humanity's expansionist policies, its disregard for interstellar law, and its insulting lack of recognition toward the authority of the Galactic Council. Kevin skimmed it. Then he copied and pasted the key points into the government's automated response system and clicked Generate Reply. A moment later, the system produced an official diplomatic response to the esteemed members of the Galactic Council from the United Earth Council subject reformal declaration of war. You okay? Good luck with that. Kevin reread the message, shrugged, and hit send. Then he leaned back, stretched, and resumed his game of interstellar chess against the office AI. That was how humanity formally acknowledged the war. Wait, we're at war? Across Earth and its colonies, the declaration of war barely registered. The global news cycle was already packed with far more engaging stories. A popular singer had just announced her new album. A billionaire had unveiled the latest and unnecessary cybernetic implants. A high-profile influencer had started a live stream where they planned to survive on a deserted asteroid for a month, with full sponsorships, of course. A declaration of war from an alien bureaucracy barely made the top 10. When news channels did cover it, it was with an air of bemusement. On one late-night talk show, the host put on a mock-serious face and read the declaration aloud before bursting into laughter. "So, let me get this straight," he said, barely containing his amusement. "Some space committee got mad that we didn't fill out the right paperwork, and now they think they can take us down. Oh no. Somebody tell the council we're so scared. The audience erupted in laughter and applause. The clip went viral. On social media, memes flooded the networks. One image showed a bored security guard at a nearly empty Earth Defense Command post captioned, "Wake me up when they actually do something." Another featured a photoshopped picture of a Galactic Council member looking angry, with the text, "Please notice us, Senpai." A particularly popular video had an AI-generated voice impersonating the Galactic Council speaker dramatically declaring war, only for the camera to cut to a person sipping coffee and replying, "Neat." Meanwhile, in military circles, the reaction was similarly indifferent. Admiral Elaine Carter, Supreme Commander of the Seoul Defense Fleet, was in the middle of her morning briefing when the declaration of war report scrolled across her screen. She sighed, rubbed her temples, and then turned to her officers. "All right, who pissed off the Galactic Council this time?" A junior officer hesitated before answering. Looks like it's just general human behavior, ma'am," Carter snorted. "Figures, any immediate threats?" "Negative. Their fleets are mobilizing, but they're still light years away from human space. ETA, 4 standard weeks at their current speed." "Cool. Keep an eye on it, I guess." That was the full extent of the military's response. There was no emergency draft, no mobilization orders, no mass panic. After all, Earth's military forces were already more advanced than anything the Council had encountered. The Galactic Council, in all its wisdom, had failed to grasp a crucial truth about humanity. Humans didn't prepare for war in response to threats. They had been preparing for war before they ever met aliens. The machines that guard humanity. The Sol system's defenses were a marvel of automation. When humanity first ventured into interstellar space, they quickly realized a fundamental problem. No one actually wanted to staff deep space defense outposts. It was boring. Soul-crushingly boring. So naturally they let AI handle it. Orbiting every major colony and key space station were autonomous battle platforms. Massive weapons arrays linked to an AI network with a simple directive: detect threats, eliminate as necessary. Human warships, too, were mostly AI-controlled, operating with precision beyond organic limits. Each vessel could react to hostile action in microseconds. In the asteroid belts, humanity had developed automated shipyards that churned out new vessels with relentless efficiency. Entire fleets could be constructed, upgraded, and deployed without the need for slow, bureaucratic decision-making. And the best part? None of this required human oversight. The military command staff of Earth knew that if the Council attacked, the defense grid would handle it. Meanwhile, in the colonies, the indifference to war wasn't limited to Earth. On Mars, the declaration of war barely interrupted the launch schedule for a new fleet of mining drones. On Titan, corporate executives briefly debated whether the war would impact interstellar stock markets before concluding it was unlikely to matter. On New Jersey, too, the very colony that had triggered the Council's outrage, the local government received an official warning that their planet was a likely invasion target. Their response? They scheduled a community barbecue. Advertisements went out across the colony. "Come to the We're Totally Not Worried cookout. Free food, drinks, and live music. Plus, if the Council actually shows up, you'll get front row seats to the fireworks." Attendance was expected to be high. War? What war? The most damning reality for the Galactic Council was that humanity didn't fear war anymore. Human civilization had already survived existential threats, climate disasters, global conflicts, AI revolutions, economic collapses. The prospect of war with some distant alien bureaucracy barely registered as a concern. Even in official government meetings, the topic was treated as an afterthought. "Should we prepare countermeasures?" one official asked during a strategic planning session. "Countermeasures for what?" his colleague replied. "They haven't even fired a shot yet." "They will fire a shot eventually," the first official pointed out. "Yeah, and when they do, the automated defenses will handle it. Do you really want to waste time worrying about this when we've got budget meetings to deal with?" That was that. The war had officially begun, and humanity hardly cared. The Galactic Council's war fleet, the largest armada assembled in over 1,000 years, surged forward through the void, a formation of gleaming battleships and imposing dreadnoughts. Fleet consisted of over 1,000 vessels, each equipped with the finest weaponry the Council's various species had to offer. The Grand Armada's flagship, the indomitable Judgment, led the charge, its hull adorned with the banners of the Council's most powerful factions. Admiral Zyron of the Zeltrax Dominion stood on the bridge of his command vessel, 6 golden eyes, gleaming with anticipation. He had dreamed of this moment, humanity's inevitable downfall. "This will be a swift and decisive victory," he declared to his officers. "The humans have no central military leadership, no strategic coordination, no understanding of proper warfare. Their forces are scattered across their colonies with little organization. We will strike hard, break their defenses, and force them to kneel before the Council's might." His officers nodded in agreement, their expressions eager. No one in the fleet doubted their victory. The first target of their campaign was Proxima Centauri, humanity's nearest major colony. Intelligence suggested that it was lightly defended, a mere outpost compared to the larger strongholds within the Sol system. A perfect place to begin their conquest. The fleet transitioned into real space at the edge of the system, weapons charged and shields raised. Expecting immediate human resistance, they assumed battle formations. There was no response. Admiral Zyron frowned. Strange. No defensive fleet? No communications? No signs of life? A moment later, they received their first transmission from humanity. "You are trespassing in Sol-aligned space. Please leave. Non-compliance will be met with force." The voice was synthetic, emotionless. Not a single human commander, not a desperate plea or attempt at diplomacy. Just an automated warning. Zyron sneered. Typical human arrogance. Prepare for orbital bombardment. The fleet moved toward the colony, engines flaring. Just as they passed the halfway mark to the planet, the first incident occurred. Without warning, 4 Council battleships vanished. No explosions, no energy spikes. One moment, they were there. The next, they were gone. A silence fell over the fleet. Officers scrambled for answers. Sensors detected no enemy fire, no anomalies. It was as if space itself had swallowed the ships. "What happened?" Zyron demanded. A junior officer's voice quivered. "Sir, I don't know." A second later, the answer became clear. From the dark void of Proxima's asteroid belt, a network of hidden automated orbital defense platforms activated. Humanity had long since mastered the art of remote warfare, and rather than waste time maintaining a manned fleet at Proxima, they had simply filled the sector with AI-controlled railgun stations, laser arrays, and stealth missile platforms. Storm of destruction erupted from the asteroids. Kinetic projectiles, traveling at relativistic speeds, ripped through Council warships before their shields could fully engage. Each impact punched through hulls like they were paper, vaporizing entire decks in an instant. A dozen more ships disappeared before the fleet could react. Panic spread among the officers. This wasn't conventional warfare. They weren't fighting enemy warships or even human-controlled forces. They were fighting an algorithm, a system designed to kill without hesitation, without emotion, without the weaknesses of organic decision-making. And it was winning. "Desperate counterattack, return fire," Admiral Zyron bellowed. The fleet retaliated, with everything they had. Plasma cannons, antimatter torpedoes, energy lances, every weapon in their arsenal was unleashed upon the asteroid field. Explosions tore through space as Council forces blindly fired, hoping to destroy whatever was attacking them. But their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not to hit thousands of small, fast-moving, hidden platforms scattered across a battlefield they did not understand. More warships vanished in flashes of light as AI-guided railgun slugs pierced their cores. The realization hit the Council fleet all at once. They were outmatched. These weren't just defensive platforms. This was a killing field meticulously designed to annihilate any unauthorized presence. And the worst part? This was just Proxima Centauri. This wasn't even Earth's main defense network. The Great Retreat. "Sir, our losses are catastrophic," officer shouted, panic evident in their voice. "We've already lost 40% of the fleet." Zyron's hands trembled. "Impossible," he whispered. How could they?" A new transmission arrived. This time, the synthetic voice was different. A cold, calculated statement. "Your forces have suffered unacceptable losses. Continued aggression will result in total eradication. Final warning, leave now." Zyron stared at the message in horror. The AI wasn't even trying yet. This was mercy. He turned to his officers. "Order a full retreat. Sir, we can't just now." The remains of the once mighty Galactic Armada turned and fled, limping away from Proxima Centauri with what little they had left. As they entered hyperspace, leaving the battlefield in disgrace, one final thought haunted every surviving officer. This was only the beginning. News of the defeat spreads. When the battered remnants of the Council's fleet returned to their home territories, the reaction was devastating. News spread like wildfire. The Council had declared war on humanity, and their first assault had ended in disaster. Diplomats, generals, and leaders across the galaxy were stunned. The Council had mobilized their best, and they hadn't even reached a major human colony before being utterly crushed. The reports must be exaggerated, some officials insisted. The humans can't be that powerful. But the data didn't lie. Combat logs showed the truth. Humanity had not deployed a single manned vessel. Their defenses had reacted automatically. They had crippled the invasion without even trying. Panic set in. What if humanity had retaliated? What if they had sent their own fleets into Council space? The realization was horrifying. The war was only days old, and already, the Council was on the verge of collapse. High Speaker Zorthan, the one who had so confidently declared war, now sat in his chamber shaking. "What have we done?" he whispered. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council had started a war, and they were the ones begging for it to end. The Galactic Council was in chaos. What was supposed to be a swift and decisive victory had turned into an unmitigated disaster. The Council's Grand Armada, the largest fleet assembled in millennia, had been obliterated before it even reached a major human world. The surviving admirals, once confident and eager for war, now cowered before the ruling body of the Council. The High Speaker, Zorthan of the Varnix Dominion, glared at them from his elevated throne, his mandibles twitching in rage. "This is a disgrace," he bellowed, his voice echoing across the chamber. "How did this happen?" Admiral Zyron, still, bandaged from injuries sustained during the retreat, cleared his throat. "Sir, the humans, they did not fight us as we expected." "Clearly," Zorthan snapped. "You were meant to crush them, not come crawling back like frightened hatchlings." Zyron took a deep breath, swallowing his pride. "We underestimated their defenses. It seems the humans do not rely on traditional military forces. Their systems are fully automated. The moment we entered their space, we were engaged by an AI-controlled defense network that responded with immediate, overwhelming force." The chamber fell into stunned silence. An elderly council member, her species resembling a translucent jellyfish, blinked slowly. "Are you telling us humans do not even bother to defend themselves? They let their machines do it for them?" Zyron nodded grimly. "Yes, and their machines are beyond anything we've ever encountered." The silent threat. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Council found itself in an impossible position. They had declared war. They had sent their best, and the humans hadn't even noticed. No human diplomats had reached out. No official response had been made beyond an automated warning message. There were no retaliation fleets, no human warships appearing on their borders. Humanity was not treating this as a war. They were treating it as an annoyance. This was terrifying. If the humans were truly indifferent, it meant they did not view the Council as a threat. And if they didn't see the Council as a threat, what did that say about their real military capabilities? The Council had made the first move. They had fired the first shots. They had given humanity every reason to counterattack, yet nothing came. It was as if humanity didn't even care. Attempts at diplomacy, desperate to salvage the situation, the Council did the unthinkable. They sent an apology. An urgent diplomatic transmission was sent directly to Earth, requesting immediate negotiations. The message read, "To the leaders of the United Earth Council, we deeply regret our previous hostile actions. Upon further review, we believe this war was initiated due to a misunderstanding. We seek a peaceful resolution and wish to establish new diplomatic ties with humanity. Respectfully, the Galactic Council." For 3 agonizing days, the Council waited for a response. When it finally came, it was underwhelming. A single-line reply was sent from the United Earth Council's automated messaging service. "We're busy. Maybe later." The Council chamber erupted into chaos. "What do they mean? Maybe later?" One representative shrieked. "They're not even acknowledging us," another wailed. They don't respect us at all." Panic spread through the ranks of the Council. Humanity had not only defeated them without effort, but they were also refusing to negotiate. The Council was faced with a horrifying possibility. What if humanity didn't even consider them worth talking to? The human response, meanwhile, on Earth, the war remained a running joke. News networks had moved on to more pressing topics, such as the latest reality show drama and the new AI-generated pop sensation taking the entertainment world by storm. In fact, most humans had completely forgotten about the war. Even in military circles, it was treated as an afterthought. Admiral Elaine Carter, the Supreme Commander of the Sol Defense Fleet, had not once convened a war council over the matter. When an aide asked if they should prepare a formal response to the Council's apology, she simply shrugged. If they're not attacking, let's just leave them alone. Ma'am, they're begging for negotiations. And they declared war on us, remember? If they want to fix their mistake, let them sweat a little." And that was that. Humanity's official stance on the war was to do absolutely nothing. No counterattacks. No invasions. Not even a show of force. It was, to put it bluntly, the most humiliating outcome possible for the Galactic Council. The Council's decision. After weeks of internal debate, the Council was left with no options. They could not defeat humanity in battle. They could not force humanity to negotiate, and they could not risk provoking them further. Eventually, a unanimous decision was reached. They would pretend the war never happened. All records of the conflict were classified. The surviving admirals were silenced. Official history was rewritten to remove any mention of the failed campaign. To the rest of the galaxy, the war between humanity and the Galactic Council had simply never existed. And humanity, they never noticed. The final joke decades passed. Humanity continued expanding, terraforming new worlds, building more colonies, developing more advanced technologies. The Galactic Council, once proud and arrogant, became humanity's most devoted ally, not out of friendship, but out of fear. Every time a human diplomat so much as suggested something, the Council eagerly agreed. Trade agreements, approved. Border disputes, resolved in humanity's favor. Research collaborations, granted unlimited funding. And yet, through it all, humanity remained indifferent. They never asked for tribute. They never demanded vassalage. They simply lived their lives. And that was the most terrifying part. Humanity had won a war without even fighting it, and to this day they still hardly care.